leading up to the American Revolutionary War and independence of 1776. In 1765, patriots started to rise up against British rule. As their violence and anger against the British grew, British sympathizers began to fear for their lives. Many melted down their valuables, their silverware, gold, or anything of value. They buried it so they could come back and get it once things calmed down. Many ran into the forest and swamps to hide. Some may have taken their valuables with them to bury it in the forest. New England has many stories of lost Tory treasures along with pirate treasures. Because of land development, some may have been bulldozed, never to be discovered. But much more is still out there, just waiting to be found. One local legend tells of just such a story. It was published in a book, complete with a copy of a hand-drawn map. It was said that a British sympathizer and his slave feared for his life. They melted down his gold and silver. They hid it in a box and rode horse and carriage to a local tavern, where they planned to stay for the night. After a few hours at the tavern and securing a room, they set out to bury and hide the treasure. They took a path off a road and came to a low wet area that they could not pass through. So they turned back, and before they got back to the road, they hid the treasure on high ground. They then returned to the tavern, but night had fallen by then. In the morning, they fled the area. Many years later, the slave owner had died, and the old slave returned to look for the loot. He stayed at the same tavern for a couple of days. He could not find the treasure, and because he was now old, he knew he did not have time to enjoy it. So he drew a map and gave it to the tavern owners. He then left, not to be seen again. This is a copy of the map drawn by the slave. Over 250 years later, I got permission to metal detect the tavern grounds. But because most of the yard had been torn up for a septic system, all I found was this colonial flat button. In the 1960s, a few people searched for it at a place called Foolish Hill. They found nothing but the fool's gold that the hill was named after. This is just one of many legends of Tory treasures buried across the eastern side of America. And because 15% of the colonial population of that time were British sympathizers, we know there's treasure just waiting to be discovered.